Maybe we go to the second one.
Okay.
Thank you. How was that? How was it?
Professor, what's the future of the book?
You know, I have great difficulty in predicting the past. So if I could predict the future, I'm very skeptical of my own powers. But people say the future is digital. Of course it's digital. The present is also digital. The danger is oversimplifying, as if it's either digital or analog. My argument is the digital and the analog are mutually reinforcing, mutually complementary. So I think we're moving into a period in history where the communication process will speed up. It will be more diverse, involving sound and images and so on. And it will be more democratic. It will reach more people unless it's monopolized by commercial interests. So I don't know who will win and what the power will be that's organizing this future. But we do know that it will include printed books because more printed books are produced each year than the year before. So the idea that the book is dead is absurd. But that doesn't mean that the digital future isn't getting more and more important. It's an exciting time to live in.
Then there are two forces acting on it, the democratization and the commercialization. And we should be aware of the second one. Is that?
That's right. I think, of course, we live in a world, a real world of economic interests. So it would be naive to say everything commercial is bad. The danger is not just that commercial interests exist, but that they monopolize access to knowledge and to the internet. So I think we need public control that will prevent the taking over of public space by private industries that have a commercial interest in exploiting it. And this we can do, but we have to get organized.
Professor, what do you believe is going to be the play the libraries are going to be in the future once we are going to have this gender in the...
Well, people often say to me, the book is dead and libraries are obsolete. It's crazy. At Harvard, we have more students in the libraries than ever. They love the library. We have one library that is open 24 hours a day. They go there, they study in the nighttime, they study in the daytime. We put a cafe in for them. They now study in groups. When I was a student at Harvard, you just sat at a desk by yourself. Now they have a running discussion. And they have laptops with books together. It's a different atmosphere. And I think it's a healthy atmosphere. It's very good. So libraries have different functions. A university library, of course, has a pedagogical function. But public libraries in the US are more important than ever. I'm a trustee of the New York Public Library. We have neighborhood libraries. In fact, we have 87 of them scattered through New York City. They're full of people. These are people who need access to information, often access to the internet, which they can't get at home because they don't have enough money. So the neighborhood library has a function in helping people get into the digital world as well as the world of print.
But what about the child that we see nowadays? They deal with the technology very well. They have very, very, very good skills on it. Do you believe they are going to be in the library in maybe 20, 30 years as the young you see in the library nowadays?
I don't know. You know, if I knew, I think I must be realistic. But when they Twitter, when they exchange messages, I think that's a different activity from the serious activity of study and deep reading. So, in my opinion, for deep reading, you need a printed book. You should mark it up if you own it, and you should be able to turn pages back and forth and to reflect on things. Now, it could be that the future generations will be so comfortable with an electronic book that they will be happy with that. I don't know. But I think for most people, for a certain kind of concentrated, continuous reading, the printed book is ideal. It was the greatest invention I think ever made.
Professor, you are part of a group that is working to put on internet 2 million books online for free. It is possible to measure how deep is the impact of a project like that. I believe it's named Digital Library of America, is that right?
Yes. Well, we are creating a digital public library of America. We are in the process of getting organized, but we're very advanced. So we have a technological infrastructure already designed. We have funding, we have an organization, and we are going to actually be up and running in April 2013. Now, your question is, can we measure the impact? Well, we won't begin until 9 months from now, so I don't know what the impact will be, but it's crucial that we measure things, that we understand the public we're reaching, and also that we have a plan that has a clear objective as to the public. So we are not simply creating another library for other professors and privileged students. We are creating a library for everyone, especially for people who do not have access to a library. People in small colleges, community colleges, old people in nursing homes, young people in primary schools, scattered individuals everywhere in the country. These people need access to their cultural heritage, and we can give it to them free of charge. So the idea is a truly open, democratic kind of library that will take advantage of the technology that is now available.
I heard people saying that the impact of this is as huge as the impact of the Enlightenment. Do you believe so?
Well, I actually think that our Digital Public Library of America will realize one of the ideals of the Enlightenment. After all, the Enlightenment philosophers talked about reading and printing as a force for progress. Condorcet makes this his major theme, really. So I think now we can do, thanks to the internet, what the philosophers of the Enlightenment dreamt of, but were not able to actually accomplish.
How expensive is this process, and who should be in charge of it? For example, I believe that we're going to need have some books in Portuguese, for example, and maybe a work to be done in Brazil. Who do you believe is going to be in charge of it, or should be?
Well, I think the public should be in charge of it, and representatives of the public, you must get organized. So it's up to you, the Brazilians, to design this future in a way that benefits you. So I would say be very careful about letting in large companies who want to take over your libraries, digitize them, and then adapt them to commercial uses. Who will actually pay for it? Well, that's a question also for you to answer. But I can tell you the cost. So we have many cost estimates. One estimate is 10 cents a page. That means for an ordinary book of about 300 pages, it will cost $30. That's not very expensive, and it's getting cheaper each year. So the future is very promising as far as the actual mechanics of digitization is concerned. Now, you must allow for what we call metadata, that is describing how to find this book in cyberspace, and you must allow for conservation or preservation. That adds costs, but the costs are coming down. And I think for relatively little money, you can democratize the whole world of learning. It's a very exciting project.
Professor, do you use an electronic reader, iPad, Kindle, or do you prefer still the good and old book in the format?
I do not use an electronic reader. Many of my friends do, my children do. I understand that it has many advantages, but I prefer the traditional book. I like to mark up books. I like to read deeply, intensely. And so for me, this works very well. But I'm a true believer in digitization. And for more than 20 years now, I've been involved in projects to develop digital books, to work out new kinds of structures of communication, to get younger people to write books for the internet, and to try to actually design the digital world in a way that will be for the public good. But when it comes to reading, I must admit, I read a traditional book where I can turn the pages.
Professor, you started your career as a journalist, right? You used to work to New York Times.
Right.
All that you said about the books, can we think about the newspapers in the same way? The process of, are you going to have a newspaper in our hands in maybe 20 or 30 years, or everybody's going to read it on an electronic reader?
Well, again, I don't dare predict the future, but I must say, I believe newspapers are threatened, more so than books. Younger people will certainly get their news online, and newspapers must adapt to the online environment. Now, how they adapt and how they can have a business plan that will work, that's a problem. But they will work it out. They must work it out. The need for news will not go away. So the question is, how can it be satisfied most effectively?
Professor, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you.